All right, in this video, we're going to be taking a look at designing a bench that I've never built before. This is just something I want to kind of experiment with and try out, uh, just kind of for fun, but also for purpose. And I don't want to give too much away, so let's just dive in and begin this design process. Now, we're going to be making a bench with 5/8 rebar. That's what my proposal is, anyhow. So we're going to be making a bench with 5/8 rebar and standard dimensional lumber. Um, I'm not really sure. I would imagine I'm probably, because I think I got some 2x6 out in the shop. So we'll probably use the 2x6. There may be some 2x8 out there. But right now we're just going to get it designed, and then we'll figure out exactly what we're actually going to use for our bench top. Could be dimensional lumber. This process that we're going to do would also work with a just a regular live edge slab. So anyhow, there's some questions I have right off rip in my brain as to what will actually work or not work. So anyhow, we're going to draw it out, then we're going to actually build it, and then see what what is actually possible or not possible. And also in the process of building it, we're going to be creating some jigs that I do not have already created, but I was watching this video of somebody doing, I forgot what they were doing. They were either doing octagonal or hexagonal type of construction, and he made the simplest little jig, and I'm like, what a dummy I am, because while it was the simplest, easiest jig you could ever imagine, I didn't think about doing it the way he did it. And so anyhow, so I got to thinking. It's like, okay, well, I want to make this other bench just to see once what would happen if we did it, and then duh, um, I can create a similar jig for this bench, and it'll really help us out when we actually go to put it together. Okay, so we are going to be using CorelDRAW X6 in this video demonstration. Now, when I'm doing my initial layouts, I have an idea in my brain of what I want, and I typically will use CorelDRAW only because I've been using CorelDRAW for all eternity. I used to do a lot of embroidery. I used to do screen printing back in the day. I went to school for architectural and electrical engineering. So that gives you a little background of how I tend to think about things from a architectural standpoint. But anyhow, CorelDRAW is a great layout program. I have upgraded since CorelDRAW X6. I think all the way up to CorelDRAW 8, X8. But for some reason, I don't know. I just use CorelDRAW X6. It's perfectly fine. So, but it's a 2D drawing program. It's really a graphics program. It's not a drafting program. But but I'm so familiar with it. Been using it for all eternity, like I say. So I do all my 2D initial layouts in CorelDRAW, and then if I want to visualize it in 3D, then I'll go into SketchUp. And of course, SketchUp is a free program. Used to be really cool back in the day, but they still have a free version, but it's online only, I think, and now you have to pay for it. But at any rate, we're primarily going to, I don't know if we're going to go into the 3D aspects of actually modeling the bench that I have in mind. So let's get going. So first things first, we have our ruler top and to the left. And so we're just going to pull down a guideline. And then without anything selected, we're going to just hit 18. And that is kind of our magic number when we're creating benches. It should be 18-inch height. I'm an old guy. I'm 50. So sometimes it's hard to get up from a lower bench. And in this example, I want to do an 18-inch tall bench. But you'll see that obviously what we're going to be building, could be done with any size. So we're going to go ahead and draw out a rectangle here. And of course, the thickness is going to be 1.5 inches because that's what our dimensional lumber will be. And for this example, I want to do 48. I'm sure the 2x6 that I'm thinking I have is probably an 8-footer. So we can cut that 8-footer in two. Boom, we got a bench top. Okay, so that's going to be our top. And so let's see, how do I want to do this? All right, let's go ahead and just, so this is going to be our front view, and this will be our side view. So we'll go ahead and make that 5.5 inches times dos, times 2, because there we go. So this is our side view. So that's how deep our bench is going to be. So it's going to be 48 inches long. It's going to be, what, 11 inches wide. Okay. Now, here's my idea. Now, I've seen these benches done, similar benches done, not necessarily with metal and rebar, but I've seen similar benches done. Okay. And so what I want to do is I'm just going to draw a big old line. I tell you what, let's not draw a big old line. Let's do this. Let's draw a big old rectangle. Okay, that's a little exaggerated there, but the width we're going to change it to 5/8 of an inch, and the length is currently 102 inches, which will be fine. So this is what we're going to do. We're going to build legs that are made out of 5/8 inch rebar. Now, what I don't know is whether or not this will hold us in the configuration that we're going to be using it in. I have no idea if it will or not. We're fixing to find out. Because I'm going to build it. I'm actually going to build it, and we're going to sit on it, and I'm a big guy, and then we're going to put two big guys on it and see if it'll hold. You remember, I was talking with somebody about this earlier. Remember that movie, The Days of Thunder, where Tom Cruise crashes his car to the wall, and I forget the guy who played his sight guy, I forgot what you call that guy, but anyhow, he's like, it'll hold, when he was going into that corner again where he crashed, and sure enough, the car held the line like he said it would, and he wound up winning the race or whatever. But anyhow, but I was talking to a guy earlier. I was like, I don't know if it'll hold or not. So we don't know. 5/8 inch rebar is pretty thick stuff, and I don't know if it'll really hold the weight or not. It's not going to be a very big piece of 5/8 inch rebar. So I don't know. I don't know. We're gonna do a couple things just to try this out. I really have no idea what's gonna work and what's not. So what my idea is this: I want to rotate this 10 degrees, and so our leg is gonna be 10 degrees, and so it's gonna kind of go like that. Okay, so that's kind of what our leg is gonna be. Now what we're gonna do here is we're just going to draw a 5/8 inch square to kind of represent our rebar. Okay. So that represents the diameter of our rebar. Now I realize we're drawing squares and rebars around, but for our purpose, it'll be perfectly fine. So you can see we're going to put that right there at that intersection point, and then we're going to move our rotation point and rotate that same 10 degrees. And then we're going to take this and put it at the bottom. But we have to put it right there. Okay? So essentially it's going to be kind of pinched, if you will. You see what I'm saying? It's going to be pinched a little bit. And then what we're going to do is we're going to obviously shorten this up. So let's bring that back up here. There we go. See, so that's going to touch right there, and so that's just going to be pinched a little bit. Now, there's a couple of things that we could do. I really don't know. I think for this particular purpose, for this first example, if you will, we just need to test this out. So I think what we're going to do is let's just take this and bring it down to that. So one thought I did have, though, just so you kind of follow me along here, one thought I did have was running this rebar a little bit wild up here, and then we'd kind of have an armrest. Okay, but for this first example, I just want to test the theory, essentially, is number one, what is 5/8 inch rebar capable of in terms of holding the weight? This may be a little bit challenging for you to kind of grasp what we're talking about until it's actually built and put together. But so at any rate, the way this will work, let me just pull this out and let me unrotate it so we can understand. So the spacing, so that's a piece of 5/8 rebar, that's a piece of 5/8 rebar, and then the distance in between is not 1.5 inches now, is it? No, it's not. It's 1 5/8 inches. And so what that's going to do is it's going to allow us to basically go over our 1.5 inch thick board, and then it's going to also give us that 10 degrees that we're looking for. So that 10 degrees kick out there. Kick. 10 degrees. And so what our concern is, so we're going to have basically 3 pieces of rebar going that direction. Okay? So you got one up there, one there, and one down here. And what our concern is whether or not in this amount of distance, so we're going to have another piece of rebar. Let's grab that. Bring it down to the bottom. Okay. And then so the concern is, let's just draw a rectangle. So you see in that 15 3/8, it's roughly 15 3/8. So in that 15-inch span, are we going to have a situation where once we put weight on this thing, will that bend? Will it hold? We don't know. We really don't know. Have no idea. I don't know what that 5/8 rebar is actually capable of until we put the weight on. And the real test, I would think, as far as the load test goes, would be to sit dead smack in the middle. That would put the most weight on those legs. So the question is, so the first question is will it hold just with those 3 cross pieces? And then the next question is, what would happen if we put a couple of extra cross pieces in? So let's just say we did something like this. Like put one there and one there, okay? And then we could select all of those, and those are all evenly spaced now. So what if we did something like that? Would that increase the buckling power? And like I said, I don't know. I don't know if we're going to need it or not. I really don't know. But I think it would be interesting, and I think I mean, I don't know. The longer the bench is, the more load capacity would be on these legs. I don't know. And then the other consideration would be, in order for this to work, like I'm envisioning, the other consideration would be, what if we made the bench shorter so that this wasn't 15? Maybe this was only 12. You know, where's that sweet spot? If it's a concern, where's the concern? Okay. Now you say, well, what practical use would that? Well, number one, I think it'd be cool, a cool look for the bench. But the other thing that's cool about it is you could literally take that bench. You know, when we're in the business of building things and doing woodworking and metalworking, when we go out to do shows, we want everything to lay flat. So here we could have some seating, and it's very small. You know, you're only talking about, you know, 1.5 inches thick on the wood, and obviously your 2 leg frames for your wood, it's non-existent. You know, it's very tiny. But think about the other possible considerations. It's not just for a bench, is it? So if we use this same concept for a table, you know, how much weight could these legs hold for a table, and then it'll all break down and completely flat in a matter of seconds. So that's really what we're after. We're going to test it with a bench, but you know, there are some other practical applications as well. Now, there is one thing I do probably want to do with this bench. You know, like I said, I already have an idea of actually using this bench. So what we're going to do is come in, I don't know, let's just come in 1.5 inches, and that's where we'll place that leg. I lied. Let's come in 2.5. Let's see where that leg. That leg is more or less where I want it, but I want an actual dimension too here. Okay, so that is 2.5. Okay, so now we can grab our leg, and then at this intersection. So this is just a Corel Draw thing. Drives me mad. I should be able to select this and pick it up from that intersection, and I guess I can because I wanted to do it up here, and I can't because it won't let me. So what I have to do is I actually have to just double click on this and actually put a node there, and now I can move it from that exact spot. I should be able to move it from the intersection, but it won't let me. I have to put a node there, and then it will let me move. But you know what's odd is I can pick up from that node. Let me find the node. There it is. I can pick up from that node, and I can drop it at that intersection with the guideline and the line, but I can't. It does not detect line to line. Drives me mad. It should. It should. Just from a drawing and computer standpoint, programming standpoint, it really should do that. But it doesn't. Okay, so what we're going to do now is move this and just kind of do the same thing over here. So again, 2.5 inches. And of course, in the field, when we're actually putting this bench together, that leg will be able to, you know, you could have 5 inches. You could do whatever you want, because it's literally just going to slide on there. That's all it's going to do. Just slide on there, and then boop, when you get to the sweet spot, wherever you want it to be. So you could have that much overhang, or, you know, whatever overhang you wanted. So just keep that in mind. So we're going to move that over there. And there we go. So now we're exactly 2.5 inches in from either side. Okay. And that's essentially what we wanted. Now, what I think I'm going to do here is go ahead and offset. Let's go ahead and offset 4 inches. And then we're going to put another piece of rebar right at that 4-inch mark. Boom. So we'll have 4 inches clear there. And let's just go ahead and grab another piece of rebar. And I grabbed it from the wrong spot. So we're going to have 4 inches clear from the bottom of that piece of rebar right there. Boom, that's 4 inches. Okay, so that's essentially what we're going to do. And the reason we did that is so that if we wanted to, we could come down here, boom, and, well, really, I guess it would be more like boom. It's going to sit right on top of that rebar, this piece. So maybe the thing to do here is, I don't know, let's move it 2 more inches in. There we go. So now we have that at 4 inches, 4 inches, and that will give us enough room for our overhang. So if we wanted to have a shelf here, and again, it would just lay on there, okay? So imagine if we just made this taller, and we were making it like a a shelving display, okay, to display items for sale, it would be kind of the same principle. But in this case, we've got our bench top, and then, like I say, we're just going to set that right on top. I don't know. We might want to use it for something. I don't know. We just this bottom shelf for display, whatever you want. It's just as an alternative. So that takes care of that frame setup, and then let's get rid of that. So I'm just going to copy this over, and then we have to rotate this 10 degrees. There you go. And so that is what the layout that we're going to create is right here. So let's just come over here, and then let's take a look at what ultimately will become our side view. So first of all, this is 11. So in order for this leg frame to easily slide over that, I think what I want is, let me just pull over a guideline here. I think what I would want is a 1/2 inch clearance. So that's really going to give us a 1/4 inch on either side, and I definitely think that's enough. So this is 11, so we want 11.5 inches clear. So we'll set that to 11.5 inches clear. Boom. And then we'll move this over like so, and we can get rid of those pieces of rebar, because we're going to take all of these and just stretch them out over to that and to that. Okay, so we're going to do that number right there. So then this essentially, you can just kind of envision. I tell you what, let's group that together. And let's group this together. And then let's just take that and center it over that. So you can kind of see how that, of course, this isn't really accurate because we're looking at it dead on, and this is actually at an angle. So that's why this is off a little bit. It's not 100% accurate, but you get the idea. These two pieces of rebar is going to pin that piece of wood. This piece of wood down here is just sitting on top. That's it. So there's no pinning of this bottom piece of wood. We could, if we wanted to, we could complicate our lives, and we could pin it just like the top board would be pinned, and then that board could not really move once our leg was positioned where it should be. That's another possibility. If I don't feel like that 5/8 rebar is very strong, that would certainly add some strength to it. But I mean, I don't know. I want to eliminate the weight, so I don't want these overly heavy, and I just want to see what how much weight it will actually hold. You might surprise ourselves. It might actually hold just fine. I don't really know. I really don't know how hard it is to bend 5/8 rebar. So, but we're fixing to find out. But you can see how relatively easy that this is going to go together. I mean, it's pretty straightforward stuff. And we would just have to make a jig accordingly, fairly simple for for this project. And there's a couple of different ways we could go about it. So first of all, our horizontal pieces are, let's just copy this over here. We know our horizontal pieces are 11.5, and we're going to need 4 of them. And then our vertical pieces are, see where it says right there? It says 18.9. So we're just going to call it 19 inches. Our vertical pieces are 19 inches. Okay. And then the space here from the top there, you can see is 1 5/8 inches. It's not really 1 5/8 inches. 0.625 is the decimal equivalent to 5/8. But it's pretty darn close. So 1 5/8, and then down here we're looking at 3.4. So we could just do 3 3/8. It'd be probably okay, because 0.375 is 3/8. Now, here's another thing that we could try if we wanted to, is we could eliminate that bottom piece. Okay, so we could do that. So from here to here, that little stub. In fact, we might just do that, because I can't imagine that adding a whole lot of strength, to bend that rebar in that little bit of a distance. I think maybe we'll just do that. Let's not put one at the very bottom. We can always add it if it did become a problem, and we saw that did bend. We could always add one in there. But obviously, anytime you're building anything, I don't know. I don't know. I don't think it adds any value. So it's just extra time, extra cost, and I don't know that that's really going to add any structural integrity, any stability benefit, or anything. So I just don't think it's necessary. So we'll just go ahead and build it out like this, and then test it out. That's the only way we're going to know. That's the only way we're going to know. But you can see it's going to be such a simple thing to build that, it's very, 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 very basic. Okay, so now let's talk about building a jig, because we definitely, I try to jig everything, especially when, like this type of setup. I really do try to jig it all, because number one, we want both of these to be identical, and number two, this is something that if it does pan out, I could see me selling these, real easily, because this width can be varied. So if you had a a beautiful piece of walnut, and your biggest dimension was 15 inches, we could just make it 15 inches. Boom. Because of the way it pinches the wood, even if your other side was only 12 inches, it wouldn't matter. You could still use this leg just the same way. As long as your slab is the same thickness all the way through and through, you could definitely use it for live edge slabs. You could use it for dimensional lumber. And so you could sell these frames, and then people could just go to Home Depot and get the dimensional lumber. And something else to keep in mind is, you don't have to put these two boards together and with this type of setup. So you could just have two, in this case, two 2x6s. You don't have to join these two boards together. They'll just sit together. You line them up. You pinch our frame to them, and that's it. And that's probably what I'll wind up showing you when we actually get into the build process. No, I won't put those two together. I mean, I could, but I'm just saying you wouldn't have to. And you could actually leave a little gap there if you wanted to. It doesn't have to be one solid piece. So, it is what it is. So you can see it's going to be very, very simple. Very simple process. So, what I want to do is go ahead and build a jig for this particular setup. And so usually when I'm making jigs, especially for stuff like this, I am going to use fence pickets, because they're cheap. First of all, they're probably the cheapest material you can buy. So they're very cheap, and they work real good for this process. So we just have to figure out how we can put the fence pickets together, And that's the process that we're going to kind of go through right now. So our fence pickets are, I've done a bunch of these, so I kind of know where to begin. So our fence pickets are 5.5 inches wide, and they cost $2.25 per picket. And we have approximately 70 inches to work with. That's what we got. So our first step in this process is to whack it right in two. So boom. Now we have 140 inches, just that quick. Possibly. So let me just show you something here. So, and then we're going to take what's left here and cut that in two. And that will give us roughly 1 3/8. It's probably more like 1.25 inches, because I'm just going to go ahead and drop it 1/8 of an inch. Let's just call it 1.25 inches, because we have a little bit of a saw curve there. Okay, and that's probably a little bit closer to reality. So what we want to do, so first of all, we're going to have this situation. We're going to have to turn this way, right? And so it's going to be like that. Okay, and then we're going to have this over here. So let's put that there. Let's move this out of the way for a second. Okay, and so what we want to do here is let's actually put that back. Something like that. And let me just kind of, all right. So we're going to take all of our fence pickets and we're going to move this right down to here. And I'll tell you what, let's give these a color, just anything. And then let's give our rebar some kind of contrasting color, just so maybe we can, what do you think, orange? So let's do that. Let's give our rebar a contrasting color. All right, so now our rebar is contrasting color. So, and then our cleats, let's give it a contrasting color too. So this is still part of our fence picket. So what we're going to do, first of all, is we're going to put this, boom, right there. Okay. And then we're going to have to take this, and we're going to spin it around, and we're going to put this right up here. And what that will do is we're going to tie all of those together just like that, okay? And so we're going to stretch this up here. And then obviously this is going to come over here. So all of this, and this have to come right over this direction. Oh, let's go right like such. Okay. And then we're going to take our rebar and put it up there against the top cleat. And then we're going to take this and we're going to come right to here. Okay. And then what we're going to do is we're going to take this cleat. So this is our 1.25 inch cleat. And we're going to bring it to the inside here. Now you can see that this interior cleat will have to be shrunk to 7/8. Okay, and so what we could do as we're putting this together, that piece will obviously hold this together, but then we can pop a couple staples there, pop staples all along there, and pop, so that will hold the top picket and these bottom pickets all together. And it is going to position this. And what we're going to do here is actually just take that fence picket, see it's on 1 5/8 inches, and we'll just cut that. We'll rip that in the table saw, and that will give us our spacing for that next piece. Okay, and then so what we'll do here then is we'll come down here and this bar, we'll just go ahead and put that right across just like that, and then that bar will sit in there. That bar will sit in there. Okay. And I don't know. Sometimes I do just give it a 1/16 of an inch gap. So we might just make that just slightly smaller, an inch and a 1/16, and just take off a 1/16, or I guess what we'll do is take off an 1/8. So so in other words, we could make this 1.5, and that would just give us just a little bit of room for our rebar. Okay. So that, that's something we might do. And then this bar is going to sit on that and that. And so all I would probably do is just come down here, put a cleat there, and put a cleat there. Okay. And that's it. That's our jig. So we can go ahead and come up here, and we could trim that all back. And then we can figure out exactly how many fence pickets we'll use to make all the components of our jig. But again, this cleat going across that first layer of fence picket will hold these two together. And again, I would probably just give it. I'm gonna nudge that up a 1/16. I don't know what I did there. That was not a 1/16. 0.0625. I don't know what I was thinking. So that will give us just a little bit of wiggle room, so that rebar just slides in super, super easy. And then so I'd probably do the same thing here. So this is 11.5 is what we said. But if we're going to give it a 1/16 of an inch, that would be, let's do, we could do, and this is what's kind of cool about CorelDRAW too, is we can use it as a calculator. So we could type in 11.5 minus 1/16, and see, it tells us it's 11.4, so about 11 3/8 probably. But we'll just do 11.5 minus 1/16, and that gives us that 0.438. And we'll do all those across the way. 11.5 minus 1/16. I just think that's a little bit smarter, just to give you just a tiny bit of wiggle room there, to get those rebars in and out real easily. So there you go. That would be the jig that we would have to create. So so what we would do then, just so we could see this a little bit more clearly, is we need all those blue parts, and then we need these two green parts, and we need that green part, right? Oh, yeah, because this green part, like that. Yes, because that big one's going to take care of that. So, see that? So this green part is going to sit right inside there, and then those cleats will hold it all together for us. So those are the three pieces that we need, and those are 2 3/4. So remember I said we've got 70 inches to work with? So there we go. There we go. And there we go. So that takes care of all of our red parts. And then these parts here, this one's 1 1/4. This is 1 1/4, 1 1/4. So I think we would be okay to basically do this number. And then these are, that's 1 1/4, that's 1 1.5. That's 1 1/4. So the rest are all 1 1/4. So that will work. So we'll put that in there. And these are all 1.25 inches. And there's 3 of those that are all the same size. So there's 1 there, 2, and 3. And then this 1.5 inch one can go right up here. Ta-da! And we still got a lot of board, obviously, that we could still use. But so literally, it's going to cost us 1 fence picket to make the jig. So it's going to cost us $2.25 plus a little bit of time to cut up this jig, and that's all there is going to be to this project. And then on the rebar side, this is 19 inches. And let's make a duplicate of that. So we got 19 inches and 19 inches. And then we have the 11.5. And that is 3 pieces per leg. So that's what we need for 1 leg. And that is 6 foot, roughly. 6 foot and 3/8. So what that means is I buy the rebar in 20-foot sticks, and it's about $1 a foot. So this is going to cost us about $15 in rebar, and it's going to cost us $2.25 in a fence picket. And then our 2x6 by 8 foot. So we've got $15 wrapped up in rebar. We've got, let's just call it $3 wrapped up in a fence picket. So that's $18. And then this board is $10. So the 2x6 by 8, let's just call it $10. So all in on this bench, we're going to be under $30 on the bench. And obviously, our weld time isn't going to be that significant. Especially with our jig. Once that jig's made, shoot, man, we can knock this out quick. Probably an hour. I mean, it'll come together pretty quick for us. And so that's pretty good. $30 for the bench. That we could definitely, easily triple our money. Very simple. And I really think it'll be like a really cool bench. But also this, like I said, this frame setup, if it works good as a bench, it will definitely work good as a shelving unit. And that's what I'm really excited about. But I want to test it on the bench because if I were to make a similar thing for a shelving unit, I guarantee you I wouldn't have 300-400 pounds on that shelving unit like I would the bench. So that's what I'm really eager to see, is whether or not the bench will hold that weight or not, or what it would take to use 5/8 rebar and have it hold the weight. So there it is. That's it. I like it. So look in the description below. I will link to the actual build video where we go out in the shop, go ahead and make our jig, and we'll weld it up, and ultimately we're going to test this bench out and see where we're at. Thanks for watching.